Touch Me. Touch Me is one of the original founders of Ainz Ooal Gown, and is easily one of the strongest warriors the game ever produced. Even in a game packed with min-max players and absurd builds, he stands out for one simple reason. He's one of the only 9 players in the entire game who can use the special class known as World Champion. Being a World Champion isn't just a title slapped onto a character sheet. It's a direct sign that the player behind it has climbed to the absolute peak of Idrisil's competitive ladder. Only the best ever reach it. And Touch Me does it as a sword and shield warrior, a style that usually leans defensive, but in his case becomes something way more extreme. As a world champion, he's recognized as one of the strongest players and one of the greatest warriors across the entire game. Part of what pushes him over the top is his signature armor, compliance with law. This isn't just a standard divine class gear. It goes way beyond that, even rivaling guild weapons, which are the kind of items entire guilds fight over. Touch Me gets this armor as a bonus reward for hitting the World Champion class, and it gives him durability that already breaks normal limits. It's so tough, it practically cheats the damage system. Once he maxes out the World Champion class, he unlocks a skill called World Break, and this thing is absurd. World Break is described as his most powerful ability, and it earns that title easily. The skill slices through space itself, tearing apart the fabric of space and time. It's basically a stronger, more brutal version of the 10th spell Reality Slash, which is already infamous for ignoring conventional defenses. World Break sits at the absolute peak of what a warrior-type character can do in Idrisil, but raw attack power isn't the entire story. What makes him terrifying is how impossible he is to bring down. He can take boss-level attacks head-on without taking damage and immediately counter while blocking. That means he isn't just a top-tier attacker or a top-tier tank, he's both at once. His instincts in combat are so sharp that he can read an opponent's movements the moment they act. He evades attacks before they even properly register, and against the strongest warriors, he keeps up by relying on his real-world reflexes. Momonga himself says that as a warrior player, Touch Me has extremely high overall stats. The author, Maruyama, even confirms he's much stronger than someone with 100 job class levels. Within Ainz Ooal Gown, he's the only top class player capable of negating boss level damage, and still punishing enemies with a counterattack right after. That combination puts him on a level that hardly anyone else reaches. Even when he goes up against other top tier warriors, he needs to lean into his real world reaction time to match their pace, which is insane considering how much the game itself supports player inputs. Outside combat, he becomes one of the defining reasons Ainz Ooal Gown even exists. It all started when he decided to save heteromorphic players who were being hunted for class unlocks and easy kills. During that period, he saves Momonga from a PK group, which starts the friendship that eventually shapes the entire guild. He pulls Momonga out of a complete slump, encourages him to keep playing, and even guides him through his first raid boss victory. Later on, he forms a group of non-human players called the First Nine, or Nine's own goal. He personally handpicks and invites each member, turning the clan into a close-knit group. But things don't stay perfect. A huge conflict erupts between him and another member, causing that person to quit both the clan and the game. This fallout hits Momonga hard, and Touch Me feels responsible for the fracture. Driven by guilt and wanting to fix the situation, he calls a meeting. They talk about a newly discovered dungeon, and then he announces that he intends to dissolve the clan, not as a failure, but so they can restructure into an official guild. The group accepts the idea and expects him to take the guildmaster position, but he refuses and nominates Momonga instead. Once the transformation into Ainz Ooal Gown is finalized, the old clan is officially disbanded, clearing the way for the legendary guild to rise. Eventually, like the other supreme beings, he logs out before Idrisil shuts down, which means that he isn't transported into the new world when the servers reset. So how does all this make Touch Me one of the hardest beings to kill in Overlord? First, his class is already at the top of the game's design, and he has gear that rivals guild weapons, items strong enough to shift entire wars. His armor gives him absurd durability, and his ability to tank boss attacks while countering puts him beyond almost any other warrior in the series. Add in World Break, a skill that literally cuts space-time, and he has offensive power that ignores conventional protection. His instincts and reflexes let him respond faster than the game intends, and his overall stats put him past players with massively stacked job levels. Both his build and his abilities push him into a tier where killing him becomes a near impossible task, cementing him as one of the hardest beings to take down in the entire Overlord franchise.
Just cutting in here really quick, I recently partnered up with Supps. A lot of you might have already heard about Supps before. They're like the go-to for energy supplements for gamers and people that enjoy anime and manga. Pretty big in the community. It's a product with 0 sugar, less than 1 carb, and less than 1 calorie, so it's keto friendly and diabetic safe. So this is pretty big because I used to drink a lot of energy drinks, and it's both healthier and cheaper than just straight up buying energy drinks from the gas station or something. And on top of that, I'm sure some of you may love this, they also have these like very aesthetic waifu cups that of course are anime themed because, you know, waifu. And what's really cool is if you click the link in my description and use my code AnimeX, you'll get 10% off your order, and on top of that, you'll be helping this channel greatly. I wouldn't be recommending this stuff to you guys if I didn't use it myself. I literally drink it every day. Like, I'm drinking it right now as I record this video. The flavors are good, the service is amazing, you get your stuff very quickly. So make sure to use the link in my description and use my code to save some money.
High-tier Supreme Beings. The Supreme Beings are the 41 members of Ainz Ooal Gown, a guild known for pulling off feats other groups couldn't even dream about. They collected 11 world items, more than any other guild in the entire game, and built the Great Tomb of Nazarick, a dungeon so brutal that no one ever managed to conquer it until they did it themselves. Their reputation came from the lineup of insane players inside the guild, especially the ones who pushed their classes to the extreme limits. Let's start with Overlord Ainz Ooal. Among the Supreme Beings, Overlord is the guild's strongest magic caster. He specializes in overwhelming firepower, and the backbone of that is the World Disaster class, a top-tier magic class loaded with destructive potential. His build takes advantage of everything that boosts offensive spell damage, which turns him into a walking magical nuke. In terms of burst damage, Overlord ranks at the very top. Even before activating anything major, he's already one of the top 5 highest damage dealers in the guild. The one drawback? His mana consumption is ridiculous. He can fire off spells that can melt entire grade groups, but they drain his MP faster than he can naturally recover it. Once he masters World Disaster, he unlocks his ultimate spell, Grand Catastrophe. This is the move that turns entire battlefields into ash. It consumes 60% of his total mana, but it outclasses even super tier magic. Grand Catastrophe is described as a destructive wave formed from the malice of the fallen leaves of the world tree Yggdrasil, and this isn't poetic flavor text. The spell wipes out 4 level 87 primal fire elementals and a level 90 primal star elemental summoned by Asura, all of which should have been at full health. It even chunks the raid boss behind those summons. Overlord helps organize and prepare the guild for their assault on Nazarick, joins Momonga's team as a magic attacker, and later designs the 7th floor of the tomb. He also creates Demiurge and chooses Demiurge's NPC Overseer. Eventually, Overlord becomes inactive and hands all his gear over to Momonga before quitting the game entirely. Next up is Perorocino. He's the guild's king of ultra long-range combat. His entire build is designed for sniping, and when he's in an open environment, he can fire from distances of up to 2 kilometers away. His favorite strategy involves hiding himself and picking off enemies from extreme ranges using explosive arrow skills. He's dangerous in wide spaces, but less effective in tight corridors. During the old days, Perorocino tries to finish conquering a cave system that Nubo discovers. During the raid, he provides cover fire and accidentally kills the boss, ruining Overlord and Touch Me's friendly competition over who would land the finishing blow. After Nazarick is conquered, Perorocino spends his time creating Shao-tier Bloodfallen. For reasons known only to him, he gives Shao-tier a resurrection item. Later on, he tells Momonga all the details about her design, except for that one item he slipped in. Then we have warrior Takemikazuchi. He's one of Ainz Ooal Gown's strongest melee fighters. His build leans into offense-oriented classes like Kensei, focusing entirely on physical DPS. His defense is low, but his damage output is the highest in the entire guild. His signature move is the Bright King combo, a 5-step active skill that boosts his DPS to terrifying levels. It can only be used once per day, but each step builds into the next. The first strike combines Fudo Kensaku and Kuikara Sword, reducing enemy evasion based on karma, and then dealing increased damage to low karma targets. The second move summons a serpent that expands and coils around the enemy to immobilize them. The third charge hits with a lance attack. The fourth move slashes them with an electrically charged Vajra sword. The final hit brings down a massive club that crushes anything left standing. Takemikazuchi helps in the conquest of Nazarick, then creates Kokaitis afterwards. He admires Touch Me's strength and sees him as his ultimate rival. He spends his time forging weapons for himself, hoping to create one strong enough to finally surpass Touch Me. But before he can finish it, Touch Me quits the game. The unfinished weapon ends up sitting in the treasury. The Before locking out for good, he gives Cocytus his sword, the god-slaying Emperor Blade, as a final gift. Nishiki Rai also belongs in the upper ranks of the Supreme Beings. He's the best physical damage dealer in the guild when it comes to single strike output. His build focuses on stealth and raw damage, which leaves him with low defense. But when he uses his stealth buffs to land a preemptive strike, the blow he delivers can surpass even warrior Take Mikazuchi's damage. He's not a full scouting type player, but he's still capable of reconnaissance. No stealth specialized character ever manages to slip past his detection. His great sword attacks are legendary, with a single sweep producing unmatched physical damage among the 41 members. Nishiki Rai is the one who discovers the unexplored dungeon that becomes the Great Tomb of Nazarick. After the guild conquers it, he creates Ainz Ooal Gown. The last major figure in this higher tier group is Hirohiro. His race is Elder Ooze, known for acid-based attacks. His job class leans toward monk-type builds, which aren't great at damage dealing, but his race trait compensates by giving him devastating corrosive abilities. His acid can dissolve equipment even when the target has immunity. This is so effective in PvP and PK battles that many players who fight him end up traumatized. Being a slime, Hirohiro senses vibrations within a 100-meter radius. This functions like a motion detector, allowing him to detect enemies who enter his zone. His weakness is the lack of normal vision without magical tools. Because of that, he constantly feels uneasy knowing that ranged attackers could hit him before he senses them. Even so, he trusts his motion detector enough to use it as his primary warning system. Despite being exhausted in real life, Hirohiro still logs in when Momonga emails him before the game shuts down. He's happy to see his friend one last time and says his goodbyes before logging out for the final time. Every one of them is a top-ranked player in a game known for brutal difficulty and punishing mechanics. Their builds push the limits of their respective roles. Obert brings unmatched destructive magic. Pedorocino dominates long-range combat. Take Mikazuchi outclasses everyone in physical DPS. Nishiki Rai deals the strongest single-strike damage, and Hirohiro wields corrosive abilities that break immunities. And they're part of a guild with access to 11 world items. This alone gives them the defensive options and countermeasures that most players can't even imagine. Also, each of these players customizes their loadouts and skills to maximize survival, damage output, and adaptability inside Yggdrasil. These players didn't just survive Yggdrasil, they shaped it, broke it, and left a legacy so strong that the NPCs they created still treat them as gods long after they're gone. Momonga. Momonga is the guildmaster of Ainz Ooal Gown and the overlord of the Great Tomb of Nazarick. Before he ever ruled anything, he was Suzuki Satoru, a worn-down salaryman living in the polluted, exhausting world of 2138. His life was a cycle of work, loneliness, and routines that never gave him a break. He lost his mother early, had a distant relationship with his father, and lived alone in a small, crumbling apartment. The only place he felt any sense of control or meaning was inside the DMMORPG Yggdrasil. In the game, he went by the name Momonga. When he started, life was rough. Heteromorphic races were hunted constantly, and players like him were treated like walking loot boxes. PKers targeted him over and over, making his early experience miserable enough that he almost quit. Everything changed when Touch Me stepped in and eliminated the PKers who were farming him. That moment led to the formation of the First Nine, Momonga, Touch Me, and 7 others who shared the same experiences. And from that group came the guild of Ainz Ooal Gown. Momonga threw himself completely into the guild. Under his leadership, they conquered the Great Tomb of Nazarick, built the staff of Ainz Ooal Gown, and created some of the most iconic NPCs in the game. He poured a large chunk of his real-life salary into Yggdrasil. He farmed resources, upgraded the guild base, and kept everything running even as members slowly quit the game. Nazarick wasn't just a virtual hideout anymore. It became the only place that felt like home. As guildmates left one by one, Momonga stayed. He stored their gear, preserved their memory with NPCs modeled after them, and waited for someone to come back, even though the chances grew slimmer each year. By the time the game was in its final hours, Momonga was the only one still active. He logged in for the shutdown, sat in the throne room, and waited for the server to close. Instead of disappearing, he found himself transported into a new world. Nazarick was real, the NPCs were alive, and everything he once controlled through menus now responded to his voice and presence. He tested his abilities, confirmed command over the Guardians, and decided to act under the name Ainz Ooal Gown, believing that spreading the guild's name might help him find any old friends who also got transported. As a level 100 magic caster, Momonga already had a strong foundation, but what pushed him far beyond standard casters was his build. He used the special ability, Dark Wisdom, to memorize over 700 spells, way past the natural spell limit. While he wasn't built for PvP, he still managed to win fights through preparation, obscure spell choices, and smart tactics. Even among the top-tier members of Ainz Ooal Gown, he ranked high when it came to versatility and adaptability. He didn't rely on raw stats to carry him. He built strategies around the situation. He studied opponents, swapped equipment for each fight, and used Nazarik's resources to tilt the battlefield in his favor. Many of his victories were decided long before the first spell was cast. His collection of super-tier magic spells showed how far his arsenal truly went. Creation let him reshape the terrain as he pleased. Fallen Down slammed down a massive blue pillar of destructive light that left nothing but scorched ground. Lashub produced a black cyclone that erased anything trapped inside. Wished Upon a Star burned experience points in exchange for granting powerful wishes. And Pantheon summoned 6 level 80 holy element monsters called Cherubim's Gatekeeper to fight at his command. On top of that, he had layers of defensive buffs, resistances against status effects, specialized equipment with extra properties, anti-divination tricks, mental fortifications, and spell combinations that let him control the pace of a fight. His ability to switch into physical combat with Perfect Warrior only expanded his options, letting him pick the exact approach he needed. Early in the New World, he saved Carney Village, summoned a Death Knight, and wiped out the Sunlight Scripture using spells like Black Hole and Negative Burst. These early battles sent a message to the New World. Ainz could dismantle elite squads with ease. During the fight with Clementine, he switched to physical combat and crushed her without relying on magic, proving that he had multiple methods of winning. Ainz continued shaping Nazarik through strategic experiments. His most devastating moment came during the Khasi Plains battle. Using Lashub, he summoned 5 Dark Youngs that tore through the Riesti's royal army. It demonstrated the kind of destruction he could unleash without restraint and cemented the Sorcerer Kingdom as a real threat. Ainz also manipulated political and social systems behind the scenes. He expanded his influence by taking on the identity of Momon, a dark-armored adventurer. As Momon, he upheld peace in Irantel while expanding Nazarik's grip. He played nobles against each other, negotiated with dwarves, absorbed Quagoa, intimidated dragon lords, and spread influence through a mix of diplomacy and fear. Even his stage death during the Holy Kingdom incident was part of a long-term plan. By allowing the populace to believe he died fighting Yaldabaoth, he boosted Nea's reputation, rallied public support, and returned later with overwhelming force to secure loyalty. Every step helped grow Nazarik's influence. He took down enemy nations, reshaped political structures, and used every victory to push the Sorcerer Kingdom further. From the fall of the Riesti's kingdom to the restructuring of the Adventurers Guild and the establishment of Irantel as his capital, Ainz built a stable empire out of a single dungeon. He isn't the strongest in raw stats, but the combination of his abilities, planning, magic variety, equipment, and strategic mindset makes him the most difficult beings to eliminate in the entire Overlord series. Rubedo. Rubedo is often described as the strongest entity in all of Nazarik, which already puts her in a completely different tier from every other creation of Ainz Ooal Gown. She's the younger sister of Negredo and Albedo, and like them, she was brought into existence by Tabula Smaragdina, one of the 41 supreme beings. But unlike most NPCs in Nazarik, Rubedo was made using a unique creation method that sets her apart from everything else their creator designed. In terms of raw combat capability, Rubedo sits at the top. The story makes it clear that she can overwhelm Ainz Ooal Gown himself and even touch me with full equipment. When the narrative mentions top-rated close combat specialists, she's not only part of that elite group, she outright surpasses them. She's the peak of that lineup. Ainz even evaluates her strength in a way that highlights how extreme she is. He expects that if he ever needed to defeat Rubedo, he would have to give a world item to a powerful, unknown group located on the 8th floor just to stand a chance. And the only ones who could defeat her consistently are the other denizens of the 8th floor who share that space with her. Even then, the wording suggests that battling her head-on isn't something anyone would want to attempt casually. Her appearance is still a mystery. While nothing is officially confirmed, the material heavily implies that she's mechanical in nature, something like a golem or an automaton, and that she probably resembles her sisters in some general way. This unknown factor adds to her mystique, because the strongest being in Nazarik isn't even fully revealed. Negredo, at one point, warns that Rubedo may eventually bring calamity to the Great Tomb in Nazarik. Albedo doesn't agree and sees Rubedo as an adorable younger sister who wouldn't cause trouble, but despite her personal view, Albedo still takes Negredo's warning seriously, and she handles Rubedo cautiously because of her role as overseer. Rubedo isn't allowed to leave or take action unless Ainz personally gives permission, and even during emergencies, she cannot be deployed without his explicit approval. That rule speaks volumes about how dangerous her existence is. Later, when Albedo creates a plan to form a special squad that could search for other supreme beings if they ever appear in the New World, she requests permission to include Rubedo in the squad. Ainz initially rejects the idea because the experiment involving Rubedo has gone well, and he doesn't want her moved. But when Albedo explains that she wants to create the strongest possible team, he changes his mind and allows her to recruit Rubedo. Albedo also notes that Rubedo would stay by her side even if she eventually discovers Albedo's hidden agenda for the unit. This isn't because Rubedo is blindly loyal to her sister, but because Ainz issued a command long ago instructing Rubedo to listen to and obey Albedo's orders. That single command overrides everything else, which makes Rubedo reliable, but also incredibly dangerous to handle without care. Even though Rubedo is famous for being the strongest being in Nazarick, her actual abilities remain unknown. The series hasn't shown her full skill set, and the source material suggests that her strength reaches a level where only individuals wielding world-class items have a real chance at defeating her. That already places her above almost every other entity shown so far. When Maruyama was asked about her origins, specifically whether she was created through an exploit in Yggdrasil or with the help of a world item, he explained that it could be either one and intentionally left it for the readers to interpret. This keeps her as one of the most mysterious creations in the entire setting. Her unknown abilities, unmatched combat rating, implied mechanical body, restrictions placed on her deployment, and narrative emphasis on her being the top of Nazarick's hierarchy all combine to make her one of the hardest, if not the hardest, beings to kill in the entire series. Albedo. Albedo is the guardian overseer of the Great Tomb in Nazarick, which makes her the highest rank NPC in Ainz Ooal Gown's entire hierarchy. Every floor guardian answers to her, and she constantly monitors their movements and actions. She was created by Tablo Smaragdina and is the middle sister between Negredo and Rubedo. Before Yggdrasil shut down, she originally had some questionable settings in her personality, but Momonga edited them at the last second, and that single change turned her into someone obsessively devoted to him. In terms of defense, no other NPC in Nazarick comes close to her. When she's equipped with her personal armor, Hermes Trismegistus, her durability shoots to an absurd level. Her armor is a divine class full-plate mail made of 3 layers that specifically repel physical attacks. It also has strong resistance to elemental energy like fire, lightning, and ice. She also carries immunity to a variety of diseases. On top of that, she has a unique defensive skill that lets her redirect any damage she receives directly into her armor instead of her body. This is why she could take something as ridiculous as a super tier spell and walk away uninjured. But the skill has its limits. She can only use it 3 times a day, and each time she does, the layer of armor absorbing the damage shatters instantly, regardless of its natural defense. Once all 3 layers are gone, her defensive stats drop hard. Even then, she can switch into her true form and absorb the remnants of the armor to reinforce her body and stay combat ready. Physically, she's a monster in close combat. During her jealous rage towards Shoutir, she smashes apart section of Aura's fortress and shakes the entire structure. When she punches Azith Indra, while he's wearing his high-end armor of reinforcement, he gets launched across the battlefield like it's nothing. She even mentions that hitting him feels similar to punching Tofu, which says a lot about the difference in raw strength. During this fight, she confirms that she carries several unnamed items that dramatically boost her speed. These items let her chase down Azith even though he's flying at top speed in his reinforced suit. Restraint is also a problem for anyone trying to hold her back. When she attempted to force herself on Ainz, it took Mare and multiple 8-edge assassins acting together to restrain her. She's equally dangerous with weapons. When she wields a halberd and fights someone using a powered suit and heavy machine gun, she's fast enough and skilled enough to deflect bullets and send them back towards her opponent. The reflected bullets deal damage enhanced by her weapon, and when combined with her skills, they can seriously injure or even destroy an enemy unit. She does have weaknesses. Her hearing is sharp enough to pick up metal noises and the screams of fleeing soldiers, but she isn't great at pinpointing the source unless she has visual contact. This comes from her lack of ranger type or rogue type levels. She can heal gradually over time, which helps her stay in fights longer, but it doesn't completely erase her reliance on vision. Aside from being a fighter, she's also one of Nazarick's top tacticians and among the top 3 NPCs when it comes to intelligence. Because she's the overseer, she handles the internal affairs of Nazarick and makes sure that the entire dungeon stays functional when Ainz is away. She has access to Nazarick's administrative systems, just like Ainz, allowing her to verify loyalty settings in NPCs, monitor behavior, and enforce security. She built a defensive network throughout Nazarick, layering it with magical traps and automated alerts to catch intruders. Her responsibilities include stationing troops, maintaining structures, managing supplies, and overseeing anything related to the throne room. She coordinates logistics, reorganizes forces, and even manages the constant personality clashes between the Guardians. Ainz trusts her to govern Nazarik's infrastructure and internal security without needing constant supervision. Ainz also notes that when she deals with a caster surrounded by summoned monsters, she won't bother fighting the summons. She'll charge straight for the summoner, using her defenses to tank everything in her way. She can even redirect enemy aggression towards themselves, making their own units turn on each other. During the invasion of the Riastes kingdom, she becomes a major strategist. She handles deployments, manipulates nobles to break enemy unity, and secure the kingdom through both political pressure and open force. She doesn't remain behind the headquarters either. She enters the battlefield, fights alongside Ainz, and acts as a shield against threats like Azef and Riku Aganea. She's heavily involved in Nazarik's information warfare. She crafts cover-up stories, protects Nazarik's secrets, and shapes public narratives to support their expansion. As Nazarik expands and takes over Riastes, she plays a key role in reorganizing territory, bringing Renner into Nazarik's fold, and locking down control of occupied regions. Albedo's unbreakable defense, relentless offense, battlefield mastery, and strategic importance all place her firmly among the hardest beings to kill in the series. S-tier Floor Guardians. Floor Guardians are the NPCs entrusted with the defense and rulership of specific floors in the Great Tomb of Nazarik. They're basically the faces of each battlefield Nazarik controls, and every other NPC treats them with the kind of respect that comes from authority backed by overwhelming force. They're elite creations of the Supreme Beings, and their roles mirror dungeon bosses placed at critical checkpoints, except these NPCs aren't just there to look intimidating. They're incredibly competent, heavily optimized, and usually sitting at or near level 100. Killing one isn't just difficult. It's the kind of problem that makes even the bravest adventurers rethink their life choices, and on top of their authority, they come packaged with extremely high stats, rare gear, stacked spell lists, and passive defenses that make them extremely unpleasant enemies. Among the many NPCs who serve Nazarik, 4 in particular hold the highest stats. The first one is Shalltear Bloodfallen, who serves as the floor guardian of the 1st through 3rd floors. She was created by Perorocino. She's a true vampire, but her class setup is a fusion of divine spellcasting with brutal melee combat mixed in. Despite being labeled as a divine magic caster, her personal interpretation of divine leans heavily towards dark and twisted sources. This unusual build makes her exceptionally dangerous to magic-focused enemies, especially necromancers. Shalltear is consistently described as the strongest among the floor guardians, with one exception, Gargantua. Excluding that massive construct, Shalltear holds the highest overall stats out of all the guardians. Her durability, healing, and general survivability puts her firmly in the top tier. Her life-sustaining skills allowed her to endure prolonged battles and outlast almost anyone, even among her peers. Because she guards the entrance floors, she's also the guardian with the most real combat experience. She's the first line of contact against invading players, which makes her far more seasoned in practical combat than the guardians deeper inside. Ainz even admits that she's the best one-on-one fighter in Nazarik and considers her a trump card. Her spell list is enormous. She wields advanced magic like Implosion, Vermilion Nova, Summon Monster 10th, and Mass Hold Species. She has strong defensive options, including Force Sanctuary and Time Accelerator, along with movement spells like Gate and Greater Teleportation. She can cloak herself with invisibility, monitor enemy health and mana with Life and Mana Essence, and stack utility effects with Charm Species, Silence, Animate Dead, Magic Destruction, and Resist Break. She also carries a long list of physical skills. Her Blood Pool ability increases her efficiency by storing mana-rich blood for later use. Blood Frenzy boosts her power dramatically depending on how much blood she's soaked in, although this comes with the downside of a temporary loss of control. Mist Form lets her transform into an astral body, allowing her to avoid most physical attacks entirely. Her biggest ace is Inheriar, a near-perfect clone of herself equipped with the same gear, but without her full spell list. It's still strong enough to overwhelm most enemies on its own. Her equipment reinforces all of this. She uses Spewit Lance, a divine weapon gifted by Perorocino that lets her recover HP with every strike. She wears legendary armor and holds a world item from Ainz that protects her from enemy world items. She's heavily resistant to magic, weapon damage, life drain, debuffs, and status effects. Her combat record proves how dangerous she is. During her mission to capture martial artists with Sebas and Solution, she encounters Brain Unglass during a bandit raid. This encounter accidentally triggers her Blood Frenzy, which evolves her into her true vampire form. She wipes out a bandit hideout effortlessly while trying to hunt down Brain, who escapes thanks to a tunnel she doesn't know about. Her situation becomes more complicated when she encounters adventurers using items connected to Nazarick. She attempts to interrogate one of them, but is soon targeted by another group capable of high-tier mind control. She gets brainwashed and turns against Ainz, which results in one of the biggest clashes in Nazarick's history. The brainwashing forces her to use everything she has, including a resurrection item from Perorocino, pushing Ainz into an endurance match. She manages to push him close to defeat, but Ainz had been controlling the pace the entire time, eventually ending her with the super tier spell Fallen Down. Ainz later resurrects her at the cost of 500 million Idrisil gold, a cost so absurd that no normal kingdom could even comprehend it. She wakes up with no memory of the incident. Her later assignments include gate transportation duties, managing grain shipments, and repositioning armies. Demiurge keeps her in reserve during Operation Gehenna because of her unpredictable blood frenzy, but she continues to perform critical missions. When she hunts down Archie from Foresight, she uses her familiars and abilities to corner the girl before killing her in a way that Ainz describes as the deepest mercy. Her largest redemption mission happens during the Dwarf Kingdom arc. She's selected to accompany Ainz and Aura, interrogates Quagoa via charm species, and supports Ainz during negotiations and territorial expansion. During the final assault on the Riestes Kingdom, she displays tactical creativity by dropping Soul Eaters from Frost Dragon altitude and letting them heal on the souls of the dying, allowing them to rampage even harder. The second floor guardian on this rank is Cocytus, who rules the 5th floor and was created by warrior Take Mikazuchi. He was designed as the ultimate martial warrior. His creator gave him encyclopedic knowledge of divine weapons made by the 41 supreme beings, though he only sees one in action when Ainz uses it during the Shao tier fight. Honor, pride, and strength define Cocytus. He respects opponents who show spirit in battle, and consistently takes weapons as trophies after defeating worthy enemies. He even preserves corpses in ice when he believes an enemy deserves recognition. With 4 arms and 21 weapons, he's Nazarick's unrivaled weapon master. His total resistance to frost comes from his Knight of Niflheim class, and even his tail counts as an extra weapon. His physical attacks are the strongest among all the guardians, and his exoskeleton counts as armor that regenerates as his HP regenerates. While it doesn't reach divine level defenses, it provides strong resistance to fire and excellent durability. He has high resistance to mind control, long-range attacks, and enchanted weapons. His frost aura creates a freezing field around him that damages enemies who get too close. His combat abilities include Frost Breath, Cutting Wind, Ice Pillar, Akalanata, area slashes, chain combos, and demi-human killing techniques. He can even enhance himself mid-battle with self-enhancement and unleash top-tier spells like Vajaraja Strike and Akala's Sword. His main arsenal contains the God-slaying Emperor Blade, the Halberd Decapitation Fang, and a world item granted by Ainz for protection against hostile world items. As the Sorcerer Kingdom grows, Cocytus becomes the commander responsible for training a multi-species army of undead, humans, and demi-humans. His assignment spans security, leadership, and intense field combat operations. Cocytus' first major challenge happens during the Lizardmen War. Ainz gives him a deliberately weak undead force to teach him about strategy and leadership. Cocytus initially relies on brute strength, but quickly learns that tactics and adaptability matter. The Lizardmen Alliance wipes out his army, leaving him ashamed and worried. Instead of punishing him, Ainz uses this defeat as a lesson. When ordered to annihilate the Lizardmen completely, Cocytus makes a bold decision. He asks for mercy on their behalf. He argues they would be more valuable alive, serving Nazarick, than dead. With help from Demiurge, he convinces Ainz to spare them. This marks a turning point in his character growth. Cocytus then personally challenges the Lizardmen champions. He creates ice pillars in the area and defeats challengers like Zaryusu and Shasuryu. Despite his overwhelming power, he treats them with respect and builds trust through honorable combat. When he's put in charge of ruling the Lizardmen tribe, he commits fully, helping improve their food supply with better fish farming methods. He becomes so attached to them that he refuses to let Aura take Rororo, their Hydra, even threatening to escalate the matter to Ainz. His growth earns him a major role in the Riestes Kingdom assault. Ainz assigns him to besiege the capital, acknowledging his evolution from a brute force fighter to a dependable strategist. In his final major duel, Cocytus faces Brain Unglass. Brain's determination impresses him enough to draw the god-slaying Emperor Blade. The fight ends quickly, and Cocytus preserves Brain's body in ice and keeps his katana as a trophy, honoring the warrior's resolve. The 3rd floor guardian on this level is Gargantua, the 4th floor guardian, though calling it a guardian is a bit misleading. It's not a custom NPC, but a bonus obtained by Ainz Ooal Gown. Gargantua doesn't have intelligence or will. It exists to execute commands literally and precisely. Although its lack of intelligence makes comparisons with characters like Shao Tyr a little murky. Gargantua has the highest total stats among all the Guardians, including Shao Tyr and Mare. Even if it isn't conscious, its body alone makes it a terrifying presence. When Ainz activates Gargantua during the Lizardman Heroes arc, the construct responds by showing up as a massive giant. It intimidates the Lizardman with its size alone, then drives the point home by hurling an enormous boulder onto a frozen lake. That boulder is the same one where Ainz sits on his throne while nearly every Guardian observes the demonstration. After its task is completed, Gargantua immediately returns to Nazarick, disappearing without fanfare. And lastly, Mare Bellofiore is the dark elf twin of Aura Bellofiora, and both were created by Bukubuku Chigama. Together, they guard the 6th floor of Nazarick, but Mare fills a different niche from Aura. While Aura handles close combat and beast control, Mare focuses on druid magic, terrain manipulation, and massive-scale destruction. Mare looks timid and shy, but his stats are carefully balanced between physical and magical capabilities. His magic is so potent that Sebastian believes that he could rival Shao Tyr in terms of raw power. Where Shao Tyr excels in duels, Mare excels in clearing armies. Shao Tyr herself acknowledges that Mare has the strongest area of effect spells in all of Nazarick. His nature magic allows him to manipulate vegetation for traps and stealth, maintain ecosystems on the 6th floor, and modify landscapes. His control extends to weather manipulation across Nazarick's territories. In the Sorcerer Kingdom, he grows into an all-purpose druid engineer, restoring land, controlling rain, building underground tombs, and collaborating with guilds. His spell list includes everything from basic defensive magic to reality-shaking power. Earthquake is one of his signature spells, capable of leveling buildings, cities, and underground structures simultaneously. Nature's Shelter creates bunkers capable of withstanding super-tier spells. Petite Catastrophe unleashes energy even stronger than super-tier magic. His early appearances highlight his anxiety more than his strength, but once his missions begin, his destructive potential becomes clear. When Nazarick camouflages itself, he suggests covering the outer walls and natural terrain, which impresses Ainz enough to earn him a ring of Ainz Ooal Gown. When Nazarick invades the Great Forest of Tab, Mare suppresses forest inhabitants, blocks escape routes, and personally crushes Igvarja's skull when the demi-humans attempt to flee. During the Eight Fingers crackdown, he restrains Hilma's mansion with vines and breaks her legs when she tries to escape. His earthquake magic also adds realism to the stage Momon vs Yadaboa fight. When workers invade Nazarick, Mare escorts captured intruders to Gasho Kukocho for disposal, then later travels with Aura to Barroth Empire as an envoy. Their appearance in the Imperial Palace courtyard includes killing soldiers on the spot to send a message. Mare's most destructive achievements occurred during the war with the Riastai's kingdom. Ainz tasks him with destroying entire cities and eliminating their populations. Mare initially performs poorly and feels ashamed, but Ainz encourages him to continue refining his technique. With practice, he perfects urban destruction. At Rolente, he positions himself on a tall tower and repeatedly casts Earthquake until the city collapses and the entire population is wiped out. Towards the end of the Elf King arc, Mare encounters a mysterious woman who kills the king before he arrives. They engage in a fierce battle and Mare wins, even though she can use death-type skills, normally exclusive to high-level undead. She later becomes a major clue in Nazarick's ongoing investigation into Shao Tyr's brainwashing, confirming involvement from the slain theocracy. These 4 high-tier floor guardians sit among the hardest beings to kill in Overlord because they combine extreme stats, specialized class builds, rare equipment, supernatural resistances, and unique world-bending abilities. Killing any one of them requires preparation, rare items, and coordinated effort, and in some cases, like Gargantua or Shao Tyr, even that might not be enough. Sebastian is Nazarick's head butler, which sounds polite and harmless until you remember he's one of the 4 strongest warriors in the entire tomb. He oversees the other butlers and battlemaids, commands the Pleiades 6 stars, and was created by Touch Me, one of the strongest players in Ainz Ooal Gown. Even though he isn't technically a floor guardian, Sebastian operates on the same power tier, and he's independent from their command structure. Back in Idrisil, Sebastian and the Pleiades were positioned on the 9th floor as Nazarick's emergency shield. The group was meant to buy the guild enough time to set up their final stand in the throne room. That job alone says a lot about the level he was designed for. As a pure, unarmed combatant, Sebastian ranks among the absolute best in Nazarick, right up there with Cocytus, Albedo, and Rubedo. And he's not just competitive with them. If he reveals his true Dragonoid form, he can overpower both Albedo and Cocytus in a straight fight. Ainz even knows that Sebastian can wipe out basically anyone who rushes him head on, which checks out once you see what he's capable of. Sebastian specializes in raw physical combat backed by high-level martial arts and ki control. His stats and technique allow him to perform feats that look impossible to the people of the New World. His strength is so overwhelming that most materials and structures feel fragile to him. Some New World observers, like Climb, even assume that he's a retired adamantite adventurer because his ability set doesn't look like anything a normal human could achieve. His reflexes alone are enough to shut down threats before they happen. When assassins target him, Sebas intercepts 3 poison-coated daggers flying at him in less than a second. During the brothel raid, he grabs a steel door by the hinges and tears it off, as if it isn't solid metal. His punches send armored men flying so fast they can't be followed by human eyes. One attacker crashes into a wall hard enough to shake the entire building. Another victim takes a kick to the gut and ends up with ruptured organs, left dying slowly from the damage. Sebas doesn't hold back when he's cleaning up scum. His fight with the 6 arms shows even more of his precision. He cuts off Edstrom's head with a single ki-enhanced hard strike so fast that Edstrom doesn't realize he's already dead. Sebas can even parry the point of Malmvis metal rapier with a single finger, stopping the blade without taking any damage. Zero, the leader of the 6 arms, empties his full arsenal on Sebas, including his most dangerous technique. Sebas tanks all of it due to his extremely high physical defense, magic defense, and resistances. Zero's strongest efforts feel meaningless. Sebas doesn't even treat it as a threat. Ki makes him far more dangerous than a simple martial artist. Thanks to his monk and ki masterclasses, Sebas can wrap his fist in ki, turning his hands into weapons sharper than blades. He has a technique that lets him slip into Brain on Glaus's combat field without being noticed, something Brain doesn't even realize is happening. Sebas can also use ki to heal others, though it can't cure disease or poison. Another ki move lets him render a target unconscious and obedient with a touch to the forehead. Then there's his heel dropkick, where he lifts a leg high and slams it down onto an enemy's skull, crushing the skull, neck, and spine with force equivalent to several hundred kilograms. It's one of his signature finishers, and nothing short of high-tier defenses can withstand it. Sebas also possesses a skill called Intimidation, which floods enemies with fear strong enough to outright kill weaker people. Climb is an example. He should have died instantly, but his devotion to Renner kept him conscious long enough to survive the pressure. Sebas's gloves offer extra utility by reducing elemental damage from fire, acid, and similar effects, making him even harder to harm. When discussing the top warriors of Nazarick, excluding Rubedo, 3 names sit at the top. Cocytus has the advantage over Albedo, but loses that advantage against Sebas. Sebas has the upper hand against Cocytus, but struggles against Albedo. And Albedo can likely defeat Sebas, but she doesn't do as well against Cocytus. It's a perfect triangle of matchups, and Sebas is right in that circle of higher tier fighters. In short, Sebas is layered with speed, technique, durability, resistances, regeneration, and a transformation that pushes him past other elite warriors. Taking him down requires a combination of forces that almost no one in the New World possesses, which solidifies his place on this list. Elite True Dragon Lords. Dragon Lords are the peak of draconic evolution in the New World. They're the kind of creatures that sit at the top of the food chain naturally, not through luck, but through raw ancient power. Alongside players and their descendants, the Godkins, they're considered some of the strongest beings to ever exist, and long before Ainz or the Slain Theocracy made their mark, the New World went through an era known as the Age of the Dragon Lords. During that time, dragons ruled everything using wild magic, a system far older and more primal than the tier magic most people know today. Their reign didn't end peacefully. When players first arrived from Yggdrasil, the entire balance of the world shifted, and it's implied that the Dragon Emperor, ruler of the Dragon Lords, might have been the one responsible for causing those players to appear in the first place. Whether that was a mistake or a last-ditch attempt at something bigger, no one knows, but the result was catastrophic. 600 years ago, the 6 great gods arrived, bringing tier magic with them. This foreign magic clashed with wild magic and weakened the dragons severely. A century after that, the 8 Greed Kings arrived with the goal of conquering everything. The war between the Greed Kings and the Dragon Lords didn't go well for the dragons. They were nearly wiped out, and their era came to a brutal end. The Greed Kings didn't last long afterward due to infighting that eventually destroyed their empire, and that left behind ruins, artifacts, and the floating castles they once used as their base. One of the few Dragon Lords to survive those dark ages was Saint Dorcas Viscyon, the Platinum Dragon Lord. After the Greed Kings destroyed themselves, he took over their floating castle and made sure their artifacts stayed protected. Later, he supported the 13 heroes with magic items and guided the fight against the evil deities by remotely controlling a suit of armor. His remote-controlled armor uses his own health pool as its power source, meaning every heavy action or spell cost him personally. Even with that limitation, he accesses wild magic abilities strong enough to overwhelm enemies built for battle. Platinum Dragon Lord eventually founded the Arglan Council State, a nation governed by 5 Dragon Lords, and as the son of the Dragon Emperor, he became widely regarded as the strongest Dragon Lord left. Maruyama himself describes Platinum Dragon Lord's racial levels as exclusive, unique wild magic-based dragon classes. These classes give him abilities that directly counter undead, making him a natural enemy of Shalltear and Ainz. After his confrontation with Ainz, Platinum Dragon Lord even admits that his strength is clearly tilted towards fighting undead enemies. While controlling his armor remotely, he fights Shalltear and senses her nature immediately, picking up the negative karma and evil alignment coming off her body. Even so, he's obviously inferior to her in that scenario because he wasn't using his real body. Yet despite the handicap, Shalltear still considers him a high-tier threat. His wind magic is the core of what makes him dangerous. The slain Theocracy's cardinals openly admit that if they ever fought him directly, their entire nation could be reduced to scorched earth. That isn't an exaggeration. Even among Dragon Lords, Platinum Dragon Lord's perception and sensing abilities are exceptional. Only a handful of beings ever managed to slip past him without detection. Other high-tier Dragon Lords, the Assassin Azania, and the Necromancer Rigrit from the 13 Heroes. He can even see through Pandora Actor's Perfect Unknowable, a spell designed to erase the target's presence completely. He also senses the activation of super-tier magic from afar, which shows how sensitive he is to disturbances in magic. His Explosion-type ultimate wind magic attack is one of the most terrifying things in the setting. Shalltear describes it as a blinding white flash that stains the world, followed by a roar and massive heat wave. The shockwave tears apart the earth and creates a mushroom cloud. The effective area covers kilometers, and anything inside is scorched, burned, thrown around violently, and left unable to move or speak properly. Even Shalltear, who has fire immunity, takes fire damage from it. That alone says everything. He can also cast Cloak of Light, which floods the area with sunlight brightness, causing temporary blindness. The armor loses health every time his spell triggers, but it forces opponents into severe disadvantage immediately. Then there's the World Isolating Barrier, which creates a massive dome up to a kilometer wide. The space inside is separated from reality, blocking all teleportation and conventional entry. Only wild magic users, or those holding world items, can enter or escape. This spell also drains significant health from the armor and doubles as protection against surveillance magic. But Platinum Dragon Lord isn't the only one worth talking about in this tier. Another Dragon Lord with completely different background sits among the strongest beings alive, the Deep Darkness Dragon Lord. 500 years ago, during the war between the 8 Greed Kings and the Dragon Lords, Deep Darkness Dragon Lord chose not to participate, or possibly wasn't born yet. Either way, avoiding that conflict saved its life. Most Dragon Lords died in the war. This one survived purely because it wasn't involved. 300 years ago, it fought a Yggdrasil player and won. Killing a player is no small feat. Their levels, class build, and equipment are unknown, but the fact that the Deep Darkness Dragon Lord came out on top says plenty. The battle also left Deep Darkness Dragon Lord with one of 20 world items, making it even more dangerous. 200 years ago, it joined a loose alliance of 6 surviving Dragon Lords. Their goal was simple: prepare for the next wave of players. Maruyama himself confirms that Deep Darkness Dragon Lord is incredibly powerful. While its exact build isn't known, its wild magic is described as having near-flawless offense and defense. Even though it doesn't use anything as vile as Elder Coffin Dragon Lord's Soulbreaker Breath, its magic is still extremely potent. Deep Darkness Dragon Lord is said to be strong enough to defeat most Floor Guardians in a one-on-one fight, with Gargantua being the only major exception. That puts it comfortably in the top tier beings in the setting. Today, it lives hidden in a massive underground cave and hasn't left in ages. Platinum Dragon Lord has no idea what it's doing and no way to track its activities. The fact that even Platinum Dragon Lord doesn't know what it's planning says a lot. Both of them combine ancient wild magic, durability, battlefield control, devastating offense, and survival instincts that kept them alive through catastrophes that erased most of their kind. Taking down even one of them would require a level of force only a handful of beings in the entire New World can produce. Top level Area Guardians. Area Guardians in Nazarick don't usually get the same spotlight as the Floor Guardians, but their jobs are just as important. Each one is assigned to control a specific territory inside a floor, keeping their domain running smoothly while supporting the Floor Guardian above them. Most of them are weaker than the main Guardians, but there are a few outliers who break that trend completely. Two of those outliers are Pandora's Actor and Ariel Omega, both level 100, both sitting at the top of Nazarick's structure, and both dangerous enough to give even high-end NPCs serious trouble. Let's start with Pandora's Actor, the Area Guardian of Nazarick's treasury. He's also the financial manager of the entire tomb and the keeper of its most valuable treasures. Momonga personally created him, which already says a lot. Even though his base stats are noticeably lower than other level 100 NPCs, he makes up for it with a level of adaptability that no one else in Nazarick can match. Ainz straight up acknowledges that Pandora's Actor is flexible enough to fill in for any of the Floor Guardians if needed. His main feature is his transformation ability. As a high-tier doppelganger, Pandora's Actor can transform into Yggdrasil characters and New World individuals. When he mimics a target, he swaps his stats for theirs, except for his HP, MP, and his unique racial ability. He also gains their abilities, skills, and spell lists. This means that he can completely adjust his build depending on the situation. He can become a warrior, a spellcaster, or even something obscure like a merchant. Ainz uses him for all sorts of tasks because of this, like transforming into Nirada to appraise items through the merchant class. Pandora's Actor can disguise himself to an extreme degree. His mimicry fools Sebastian when he transformed into Momonga, perfectly copying the appearance and even the aura. He does have limits. He can only mimic up to 45 forms, the 41 guild members of Ainz Ooal Gown plus 4 others that haven't been revealed. He can mimic physical appearance beyond those numbers, but the full stat conversion only works for the 45 actual forms. When he mimics a form, he receives a penalty to all attributes and can only use their abilities at 80% strength. His spells also switch depending on the form he takes. If he mimics a magic caster, he gains access to their entire spell list, but only their 300 regular tier spells. He cannot use their super tier magic unless he has an outside item that lets him cast it. Maruyama didn't completely rule out the possibility that Pandora's Actor could use super tier magic if he had the right equipment, but under normal circumstances, he cannot. Still, the 80% rule doesn't apply to summons. Any summon he replicates will be as strong as the original. There's also a running rumor in Nazarick that Pandora's Actor's true strength is similar to the other Floor Guardians, including Shalltear and Sebastian. His base form looks unimpressive compared to them, but his flexibility and access to multiple builds push him into a completely different category. Now let's move on to Ariel Omega, the Area Guardian of the Cherry Blossom Sanctuary and the leader of the Pleiades 7 Sisters. She manages every teleportation gate in Nazarick and watches over the staff of Ainz Ooal Gown. Nazarick's teleportation system is extremely secure thanks to her abilities. If an intruder attempts to enter through a gate, Aurelie reroutes them through unknown portals and drops them into an isolation area of her choice. She also tracks the movements of every member of the Pleiades squad at all times. Like Pandora's Actor, Aurelie is level 100. Her specialty lies in commander-type classes. She provides powerful buffs and coordinated support to her allies. One example is when Doppel-CZ Delta interrupts Ainz's spellcasting twice despite being a far lower level, something that only works because Aurelie's commander abilities amplifies her squad. Ainz even notes that Aurelie fills the wildcard role. She can cover multiple party functions: support, control, battlefield management, or coordination. She isn't a direct fighter like most of Nazarick's heavy hitters, but she gives high-level NPCs a huge edge simply by existing in the same party. Both top-level Area Guardians also bring something unique that directly affects survival. For Pandora's Actor is his ability to become whatever the situation demands. Aurelie, on the other hand, controls the battlefield itself by cutting off escape routes, dividing intruders, manipulating positioning, and assisting Nazarick's forces with high-level command buffs. Someone trying to kill her would have to break through Nazarick's teleportation system, the Pleiades, the Cherry Blossom Sanctuary, and her own defensive control. Taking down either one isn't just a fight. It turns into a logistical nightmare where the opponent is constantly held at a disadvantage. Their roles, abilities, and level 100 status combine to place them at the top tier of Nazarick's defensive structure, standing shoulder to shoulder with the main Floor Guardians and earning their reputation as two of the most difficult targets to eliminate in the entire series.